What if the man you trusted with your life, your husband, your protector, threw you out into a snowstorm pregnant without a second glance? And what if 5 years later you returned? Not alone, but with 3 identical boys who all looked just like him. This isn't just a story about betrayal. It's about a woman who was silenced, erased, and left for dead, only to rise again stronger than ever. And when she came back, she didn't knock quietly on the door. She landed in a helicopter right in the middle of her ex-husband's prestigious police promotion ceremony, with his 3 sons at her side. What happened next shocked an entire city and exposed a devastating truth that had been buried for half a decade. You think you've heard emotional stories before, trust me? You've never heard one like this. Stay with us because what you're about to witness is a journey of heartbreak, resilience, and the kind of twist no one saw coming. And by the end, you might just ask yourself, could you forgive the unforgivable? It was supposed to be a joyful night. Lily Bennett walked through the icy streets of New York City with a smile trembling on her lips. Snowflakes landed softly on her dark coat as she clutched a tiny paper bag containing her pregnancy test. 2 pink lines. 2 undeniable, miraculous pink lines. She was going to tell Ethan. He was going to be a father. But as she stepped into their upscale apartment in Midtown, something was off. Too quiet. Too cold. Her husband, Ethan Walker, NYPD's rising star and public hero, stood rigid by the window, his jaw clenched and eyes dark as thunderclouds. The table was littered with papers, one of them crumpled tightly in his fist. "You're home early," Lily said, her voice hopeful, nervous. She was practicing the words in her head. "I have news. We're having a baby." Instead, Ethan turned slowly and asked in a tone she didn't recognize, "Whose baby is it?" The question sliced through the room like glass. Lily blinked, confused. "What I asked," Ethan repeated, holding up a sheet of paper. "Whose child is that inside of you?" Her hands instinctively touched her belly. "Yours, Ethan." "What are you talking about?" He laughed, but it was empty, bitter. "This DNA report says otherwise. It says I can't even have children." Her world began to tilt. "What DNA report?" "Where did you get that?" He didn't answer. Instead, he hurled the paper at her feet. "I've known since my physical 3 years ago. But I kept it to myself until now." Lily tried to speak to reason, to explain. "That test must be wrong. I swear to you I haven't." "Ethan, please." But he was already pulling her by the arm. "You want me to believe that after I saw you having coffee with your boss last week, or that sweet little cafe owner you always smile at?" "It's not what you think," she cried, struggling. "Please, Ethan, come with me tomorrow to the doctor. We can..." "If you don't leave this apartment in the next 5 minutes," he cut in, eyes like ice, "I'll file a report myself and charge you with adultery." Outside, the snow fell harder. Neighbors opened their doors, drawn by the yelling. Ethan threw her coat at her. "Take your lies and get out." Lily stood frozen, one hand over her stomach, the other gripping a handful of her clothes and an old purse. "One day you'll regret this," she whispered. He slammed the door in her face. On the sidewalk, under the flickering glow of a street lamp, Lily began to shake. Not from the cold, but from the overwhelming silence of betrayal. She had nowhere to go. No family left. Friends had drifted away since her marriage to Ethan. She walked aimlessly until a yellow cab pulled up beside her. The driver rolled down the window. "You okay, miss?" Her lips trembled. "Can you take me to the nearest clinic?" That night, Lily sat in a hospital room alone, clutching her belly and whispering through tears. "We'll be okay, I promise." But even she didn't know she was carrying 3 lives inside her, and that one day those children would return and turn their father's world upside down. From that moment on, Lily Bennett disappeared, not just from Ethan's life, but from the entire city. No forwarding address, no trace, just silence. 5 years passed. Miles away from New York, in a quiet fishing village called Willow Bay Island, Lily lived in a small cottage beside the cliffs. Her days were quiet, her nights even quieter. She worked at the island's only nursing home, mending broken bones and listening to old stories while raising 3 identical little boys. They had his eyes, they had his jawline, they even had his signature frown. She tried to forget, but the truth was written on their faces. And though they didn't yet know who their father was every day, they asked a little more. Mom, one of them. Miles asked one morning, "Why don't we have a dad like other kids?" She froze. The question was coming more often now, and one day she'd have to tell them. But what Lily didn't know was that her life was about to be interrupted again, that a massive storm was about to hit the island, that a chance rescue would lead her to a doctor from New York, that a simple photograph at a village festival would go viral, and that a single moment would bring her face to face with the man who destroyed her life, this time in front of the entire world. But that is for the next chapter. We're so sorry to pause the story here, but thank you for sticking with us this far. If you were in Lily's shoes, what would you have done that snowy night? And what secret do you think Ethan is still hiding? Let us know where you're watching from, and don't forget to like this video if it touched your heart. Your support means the world. 5 years had passed since Lily Bennett vanished into the storm. On Willow Bay Island, life was peaceful, but never easy. Each day began before the sun, with Lily preparing breakfast in their tiny kitchen, her hands moving from instinct. 3 lunch boxes, 3 inhalers, 3 pairs of worn-out sneakers by the door. Each of her sons had the same face and the same laugh, and though she hated to admit it, the same eyes as Ethan Walker. There was Noah, the oldest, who protected his brothers like a miniature soldier, Jude, the curious one, full of questions and impossible theories, and Miles, the youngest, fragile and sweet, with a heart too tender for this world and lungs that never quite worked right. That morning, as mist rolled off the cliffs outside, Miles struggled to breathe. His tiny chest heaved as he tried to hide the wheezing. Lily knelt beside him, panic simmering beneath her calm. "You need the stronger inhaler," she whispered, reaching for the emergency dose. "Hold on, baby. It worked for now." But something inside her broke. She knew. She couldn't put it off anymore. That same day, a doctor named Daniel Carter arrived at the island. He was visiting his grandfather, an elderly man Lily had saved during a recent mudslide that nearly swallowed part of the village. She'd carried the old man on her back through the rain, ankle-deep in sludge, soaked to the bone. A tourist had snapped a photo of it. Lily hadn't thought twice about it, but Dr. Carter remembered her, and he noticed something else. "These boys," he said as he examined Miles during a follow-up visit. "Are they all yours?" Lily hesitated. "Yes. They look—" He stopped himself, then offered a soft smile. "Miles needs advanced care. His condition is more complex than basic asthma. He needs tests, scans, maybe even a new treatment protocol. I can't afford that," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "You won't have to," he replied. "My grandfather owes you his life. Let us help. I can have a helicopter from St. Mary's fly you to New York tomorrow." New York? Lily felt her knees weaken. She hadn't set foot in the city since that night. She'd sworn she'd never return. But now her son's life depended on it. She nodded slowly. "Okay, we'll go." What she didn't know, what no one could have predicted, was that the photo of her saving Dr. Carter's grandfather had already begun to spread online. But it wasn't her bravery that people were talking about. It was the boy in the background, Miles. His face, his eyes, that familiar frown. Is this Ethan Walker's son, someone posted on Twitter? Why does this random island kid look exactly like NYPD's Golden Cop? The internet exploded. Across the city, Ethan Walker sat in a press conference under bright lights and flashbulbs. He was being promoted to precinct commander, his face broadcasted on every news channel in Manhattan. His new wife, Rachel Sullivan, smiled beside him. And then came the call. Ethan, a colleague, whispered urgently, "You need to see this." It was a tweet, a photo, a child. Ethan's blood ran cold. He clicked on the thread. First one boy, then another, then another. Identical. All of them. His face 3 times over. "What the hell?" he muttered. Rachel leaned over and froze. Her skin turned pale. "Where did that come from? Some island." "Willow Bay," Ethan said, standing so quickly his chair crashed backward. "This can't be real." Rachel forced a smile and tugged his arm. "You're being paranoid." But Ethan couldn't breathe, couldn't blink, because deep down beneath the pride, beneath the carefully built walls, something cracked. He had seen those eyes before. Meanwhile, Lily sat in the back of a helicopter, watching the New York skyline rise in the distance like a haunting ghost from her past. Her 3 sons pressed against the windows in awe. "You think Dad lives here?" Jude asked out of nowhere. She didn't answer. When they landed at St. Mary's Medical Center, Dr. Carter met them with warmth and urgency. Miles was rushed in for evaluation. Noah and Jude stayed close to Lily, clinging to her hands. It should have ended there, with a hospital visit and a mother's quiet return, but fate wasn't done. A journalist named Claire Monroe, sniffing out the social media wildfire, had already traced the boys to the hospital. Cameras were waiting, and that's when it happened. The story went public. Are these Ethan Walker's secret children, who was the mystery woman from Willow Bay Island? By morning, every news outlet had the photo. Ethan's face next to the three boys. Identical. Back in the hospital, Lily stared at the screen in horror. She'd come to save her son. She hadn't expected to blow up Ethan's entire life, but he had blown up hers, hadn't he, 5 years ago? And now the truth was coming back, not in whispers, but in headlines. And the next move was hers. We're sorry to interrupt here, but we'll continue this powerful story in the next part. If you were Lily, would you go to Ethan's promotion ceremony and confront him in front of everyone? And do you think Ethan truly deserves a second chance after what he did? Tell us in the comments. Also, where are you watching from today? And if this story moved, you don't forget to tap the like button and show some love. The promotion ceremony at NYPD Manhattan was packed. Media officers, high-ranking officials all gathered beneath the proud banners and polished floors. Ethan Walker stood behind the podium, his badge gleaming under the lights, his carefully rehearsed speech in hand. He had everything he ever wanted, except peace. His smile was tight, his heart was racing. Because ever since that photo of the boy surfaced, that boy with his eyes, his world had been unraveling. And now whispers were everywhere. Is it true, 3 of them? Did he abandon them? The questions followed him like shadows. Then, just as he was about to speak, a low pulsing sound filled the air. A helicopter. At first, no one thought much of it. VIPs arrived like that all the time. But when the chopper hovered directly over the crowd and began its descent onto the police plaza, eyes turned upward. Phones came out. A murmur rolled through the audience like a tidal wave. Ethan froze. The door of the chopper opened. Lily Bennett stepped out. She was no longer the trembling girl he once knew. Her presence was quiet but unshakable. Her long coat moved with the breeze and her chin was high. Behind her walked 3 boys, all the same height, same walk, same face. The crowd gasped. The flash of cameras ignited like fireworks. Ethan's knees nearly buckled. He knew in that moment everything was true. Lily stopped at the edge of the platform, locking eyes with him. The boys stood close behind her, staring curiously at the man they had seen only in old photos. Lily kept buried in a shoebox. I thought you should meet your sons. Lily said, her voice strong but calm. Ethan couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. These are your children, she said, pausing. Noah, Jude, and Miles. There was a stunned silence, then whispers, then gasps. They're mine, he finally choked. Lily didn't move. You told me I lied. You never even let me speak. His hands trembled. I thought I was told I saw a DNA test. The one your wife's cousin faked, she interrupted. The same wife who's now under federal investigation? It all came crashing down. The promotion, the image, the years of silence. You had a choice, she whispered. You chose to throw me out into a snowstorm. Tears welled in Ethan's eyes. His voice cracked. I was wrong. I see that now. But Lily didn't come to humiliate him. She came to end her silence and to give her children the truth. The press, now in a frenzy, swarmed, but all Lily did was turn to the boys. This is your father, she said softly. The boys looked up. Ethan slowly knelt. Hi, he said, voice shaking. I'm Ethan. I don't deserve your forgiveness, but if you let me, I'd like to try. The 3 boys stared. Then Miles, the youngest, stepped forward, his small voice barely a whisper. You look like me. Ethan smiled through tears. I've been hoping to meet you my whole life. I just didn't know it. Jude joined next, blinking curiously. Are you really a cop? Ethan chuckled. Was. Not anymore. And finally Noah, the eldest, the most guarded, took a step closer. If you ever hurt our mom again, I'll hate you forever. Ethan nodded. That's fair. Lily watched tears silently falling, not because she wanted revenge, but because this was a moment her sons deserved. To know where they came from, to know they were never a mistake. Later that day, back at St. Mary's Medical Center, doctors confirmed that Miles needed a rare blood transfusion. Ethan was a perfect match. Without hesitation, he donated. As the procedure began, Lily sat beside the hospital bed, holding her son's tiny hand. Ethan stood nearby, pale but present. The DNA test came back soon after, a 99.9% match. But Lily had never needed numbers. The truth was always written in their eyes. Days later, the press cooled down. The scandal faded. Rachel was charged. Her cousin Logan confessed everything. Ethan resigned from the force. He started over, quietly, humbly. Lily didn't take him back overnight. She wasn't that girl anymore. But she let him in as a father, slowly, step by step. He helped with homework. He made pancakes. He learned their birthdays. And one spring morning, the boys called him Dad for the first time, not out of obligation, but because he earned it. 1 year later, Lily stood in a small backyard with a garden full of tulips and laughter. The boys chased one another through the grass, and Ethan walked out carrying a tray of lemonade. They weren't perfect, but they were whole, and sometimes that's more than enough. Now let me ask you this. If someone hurt you the way Ethan hurt Lily, could you ever forgive them? Do you believe people can truly change if they're given a second chance? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. How did this story make you feel? If you loved it, comment Note 3. If it felt average, type Note 2. And if it didn't quite land for you, type Note 1. We want to hear everything. Also, tell us what country you're watching from. We love hearing from viewers all over the world. And if this story touched your heart, please tap that heart button and share it with someone who believes in second chances.